Greetings, BArcadians, and welcome to another edition of Gaming News Weekly. With your hosts, me, Tabs, and my good friend, gaming colleague, channel brethren, Rich. Say hello, Rich.
Hello, Rich.
I like it. So, if you're new to the channel, just so you know, we tend to cover off 3 topical, exciting news stories that we can dig up in any given week, all to do with the games industry. We have a finishing section we call Everything Else, where we just kind of wrap up some other little pieces we couldn't quite fit in and feature fully. But before we get into that, we always discuss what we've mostly been playing this week and just catch each other up on our gaming escapades. But before we do that, please make sure that you smash the like button for us. You're subscribed and you've rang that bell for notifications. Help us support and grow the channel. We would really appreciate it. So, Rich, it's exciting times, isn't it? We're not far away from E3, so I'm hoping the news in the next few weeks is going to get more and more crazy and extravagant. But what have you been mostly playing this week in the run-up to E3?
Yeah, so what, another year where we don't get to go to E3, but that may be a thing now. But what I've mostly been playing this week, mostly Rocket League, I think. One of our good friends got a PS5, so all of our close-knit group friends have now all got PS5s, so we were like, well, what can we play together? Rocket League seemed the optimal choice, so I've been playing that with you boys, and then obviously, well, not obviously, but I've also been playing that a bit with the missus, just like 2-player, playing with some AI. Yeah, it's good, honing the skills. Complicated, difficult game, I find. I feel like you either in 2 categories, you're very good at the game or you're not very good at the game. And then there's like 100 hours in between or something. But yeah, it's really good fun actually. And I'm enjoying like learning the nuances of, the car control and trying to hit the ball and stuff. So yeah, I'm enjoying playing it. What about you, Tabs? What have you been playing this week?
No, I was just going to say, I've been playing Rocket League with you and the boys as well. So it's a cracking little formula, isn't it? It's such a simple design in many ways, but it's so addictive and immediately gratifying. Working as a team, scoring goals in these cars. But like you say, because of the physics, because of the gameplay features, the skill ceiling on it is just massive.
Yeah, huge.
So, yeah, you can definitely get by after, 10, 20 hours of gaming, but I think there's a long way to go if you really want to hit the elite levels. But no, yeah, really enjoyed playing that with you guys. Apart from that, I think last weekend I dusted off, washed my hands with Resident Evil Village, which I loved, but it just got to a point where I played enough. Playing a bit more PES, mate, because I've just got Cristiano Ronaldo in the team.
Nice.
So I want to see him develop, of course, and turn into the sensation we know he is. I don't think I've been playing on much else from that. As you know, I've recently moved into a house, so that's been taking up a lot of my time and energies. But we did try Knockout City, didn't we? To mixed reaction. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. One of our good friends described it as like playing Fortnite. When you first go to play Fortnite, it's just overwhelming, and you just, it's like you've gone on there just to get spawn killed constantly. And it did feel a bit like that. We had a little blast on it, and it did feel like it's very hard to get into the game as a newcomer. And maybe that was to do with the matchmaking. Maybe the people we played against seemed like they were really good, but. I don't know. I'm not sure whether we'll revisit. I'm not sure.
It felt a bit empty to me. You've got to go and find a dodgeball and then throw it. There didn't seem to be a great amount of finesse between, that system, especially when compared to, the likes of Rocket League. And we talked about the skill ceiling. So maybe, as you say, you've got to give it more time. But suffice to say, we weren't the most impressed. But, BArcadians, let's move us on. First topic this week, titled Nintendo News and Persistent Rumours. So, courtesy of IGN, this story, and here we go. Nintendo has announced that it will be hosting a roughly 40-minute E3 2021 Nintendo Direct on June the 15th, 2021, 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET, 5 p.m. for us BST. As with most Nintendo Direct announcements, the company gave no further details as to what fans can expect from Nintendo's E3 2021 show, but many will undoubtedly be hoping for updates on The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, a possible new Mario game, a potential celebration of The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary, Bayonetta 3, and much more. It did say that the Direct will be focused exclusively on Nintendo Switch software, mostly releasing in 2021. And furthermore, this is where the rumours come into play, there have been reports that Nintendo is planning to announce an upgraded Switch, of course, as we all know, which many have come to call the Switch Pro before E3 2021. So the company and other publishers can talk about games coming to this new hardware that is said to feature a 7-inch OLED display and the ability to output in 4K when docked to a TV. Nintendo has allegedly been planning to launch this new system in September or October of this year. So just to reaffirm, this is a rumour. And I think from what we heard, Rich, what was buzzing around Twitter spheres and everywhere else, they think the drop's going to be this Friday. And then pre-orders go live at midnight is what's being said. Again, all rumour, with obviously the release to come later in 2021. But I know, Rich, yourself, you're very sceptical of that rumour, aren't you?
Yeah, so the reason the rumour goes that pre-orders will go live at midnight on the 4th. Now, the big problem I have with that is midnight on the 4th is basically tonight. So when we're filming this on Thursday, so in 5 hours or 5 or 6 hours, in theory, pre-orders can go live. Well, my argument to that is you can't pre-order something that's not even been announced. That makes no sense. They've not even announced a spec of it, the price point, what it's going to come with. I just can't see why they would suddenly offer pre-orders on something that's not been announced, and why Nintendo, would allow that. And I don't think, because I've not heard anything, that we're going to have an announcement between now and midnight. So I just think that that's so unlikely.
They'd effectively have to shadow drop, wouldn't they, an announcement of a Switch Pro, which just seems very...
I mean, that's never going to happen, is it? Not on a whole piece of hardware. I mean, even Nintendo aren't that foolish. So I think that's never going to happen. But I'm excited to see what 40 minutes of new Nintendo stuff at E3 will be. I really, really hope we're going to see some Breath of the Wild 2 stuff. My concern on that one is if they're going to concentrate on things mainly that are coming out in 2021. Now, I don't think we're going to see Breath of the Wild this year. So maybe does that mean that's going to not be shown in any wholesome way at E3 2021? I don't know. It's hard to say. What do you think?
I feel like they've got to, mate, just because of the whole Zelda 35th anniversary as well. If they don't, we know the Skyward Sword in the offing, which I presume we'll see some deep diving on at the treehouse afterwards. But surely they've got to give us something. And especially with everything else going on in the industry, maintaining relevance, as we always talk about. We've just seen a deep dive on Horizon Forbidden West, for example. I feel like Nintendo, that was a game that came out very close, almost identically, wasn't it, to the release window of Breath of the Wild. So surely now is the time to hit us hard with, a really impressive trailer and share some real details, even if, it's very likely, I think, as you say, it's going to ship next year, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we'll see another curated trailer like we did last E3, I think it was, wasn't it, when they announced it. Maybe we'll see something similar to that on that. So yeah, interesting to see what they come, and like you say, hopefully some new things in there that we can look forward to.
Speaking of 2022, my friend, do you want to take us on to the next topic?
Absolutely. So God of War 2022, and this info comes from GameSpot. The upcoming sequel to 2018's God of War has been delayed. The game, which is not yet titled, has been colloquially referred to as God of War 2, and God of War Ragnarok will now release in 2022. More surprisingly, it will launch on both PS4 and PS5, despite previously appearing to be a PS5 exclusive. In an interview on the PlayStation blog, head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst said developer Santa Monica Studios had been affected by the limited access to specialist technology like motion capture equipment. This caused the studio to delay the next God of War entry. And for God of War, the project started a little later, Hulst said. we've made the decision to push the game out to next year to ensure that Santa Monica Studios can deliver the amazing God of War game that we all want to play. Also referenced Horizon Forbidden West, saying the project could miss its holiday 2021 launch as developer Guerrilla Games is working as hard as it can to finish it. With these things, something's got to give, Paul Slater said. It cannot be quality of our titles, and it surely won't be the health or the well-being of our amazing team. I think this was a given. I'd said, is this one of those ones where I go, I told you so, like Tabs does when all the rumours come out about Nintendo. But I just did not think we were going to see this year. I did. Two reasons, mainly because I didn't think they would want it to interact with the launch of the new Horizon, but also, I don't think very often we see a game. We've seen nothing of this game other than the fact it is in production and they're going to release it this year. That's just very unusual for that to happen. But I'm equally as exciting for what they can do, and we and Tabs always say, if it needs some more time in the oven, then leave it in the oven. Tabs.
Yeah. I'm sorry, mate, if I'm interrupting you. By the way, your audio is a bit in and out from my side, so I'm struggling. I'm getting it in glances, but apologies. I've tread on your toes.
I wondered why you didn't laugh when I made a joke about the fact I should revel in me being right, like you do when Nintendo do something.
Yeah, that would be exactly it, mate. I just literally missed it, so I would have normally laughed at that. But yes, I think it's good to hear from Double H, as I'm going to nickname him now, not Triple H, Double H. Yeah. I think it's good to hear this from him. He's obviously got the right value system in place to protect the staff, protect the integrity and the quality of the PlayStation Studios branding. And like you, I'm always of that mindset. You want to wait rather than release a car crash like Cyberpunk 2077. So yeah, that's great stuff. I think we've not seen anything of it, have we? I think that was always a clue that the project was perhaps behind, because surely towards, pre-launch of the PS5, they would have wanted to get a trailer like that out there with the likes of Horizon Forbidden West, because it's such a poster child, if you like, of the PlayStation brand. So yeah, I think it's kind of expected. It's a shame. I hope we get one of these games to see the year out with. We talked about Breath of the Wild. He's obviously saying here and laying a bed for potentially Horizon Forbidden West games move to next year as well. Let's just cross the fingers we get one of these great, bangers to play before the year's out.
Absolutely. Just while we're on that, Tabs, obviously this has now been stated that it's going to be a PS4 and a PS5 game. I was reading today that Horizon, the new one, is also going to be has been developed on the PS4 and has been sort of ported to have extra detail on the PS5, which we know is looking incredible. And I've actually put it in everything else this week. We found out that Gran Turismo 7 is also going to be a PS4 and PS5 game now, whereas it was originally stated to be a PS5 exclusive. I mean, what do we make of that? Do we think that's to do with the supply issues that they've currently got with the PS5? So they're going, we're not going to have as big an install base when it comes to these games launching. So it's in our interest to put it on both platforms, because obviously they've got a huge install base for the PS4. What do you make of that, mate?
Yeah, I think it's 100% that, mate. They can spin it in different ways, can't they? By saying, we want to make sure we don't leave our, the gamers who haven't been able to hop onto the next gen just yet behind. But that's got to be the massive fundamental reason. They just literally don't have the consoles in homes to sell those games in any great numbers. And of course, as we know, games cost a lot of money to make. So they need to justify that investment. And I think bridging it in that way is smart. I mean, I do wonder what's going on behind the scenes, because were they always aware of this semiconductor shortage? And therefore, was it always a plan to have cross-gen titles like this, or was it kind of, a bit of a last-minute thing? It's really interesting one.
It's hard to know whether the impact of COVID is one of the reasons behind the semiconductor scenario, and that's had a knock-on effect with everything, basically. So I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it? I think if you knew there was going to be shortages in terms of consoles and availability, then you would seem like, why would you release your console? Yeah, I don't know, a bit of a weird one, but I guess that's a topic for another
Probably
day.
to keep shareholders happy, my friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think from what we've seen from Horizon Forbidden West, at the very least, that still looks incredible.
Agreed.
You know, it looks next gen. There's, you know, it's not just like they've bolted on a few effects here and there. It really does feel like a next gen game.
Agreed.
So, you know, and God of War was a similar one, wasn't it? I mean, that perhaps it looked next gen when it was released on the PS4.
Agreed.
The level of detail involved. So I'm confident they'll be able to achieve something where we're still going to be very much wowed by what we see of Ragnarok.
Agreed.
Gran Turismo, who knows? I mean, that's been photorealistic now for a few years, hasn't it? So.
True. I mean, the only thing I will say on, I mean, that's crazy to think God of War came out in 2018. I played it last year and it still looked incredible. Like, it's still a standout title for the PS4 and it's 2 years old when I played it. It's crazy. Anyway, enough rambling. Should we move on to the third topic, mate?
Yep, so last story today, BArcadians, is Netflix Game Pass. So this comes courtesy of Guardian. Apple, Microsoft, Sony and Google have all tried to create a Netflix for games, offering unlimited access to a library of titles for a flat monthly fee. But a growing number of reports suggest they may be about to face stiff competition from the streaming company itself. Netflix has been approaching senior game industry executives about joining it to lead the creation of a subscription game service, according to reports from the tech news site The Information and Reuters. Video games are not completely alien to the streaming service. It has licensed some of its in-house properties, including Stranger Things and The Dark Crystal, to developers to create tie-in games in the past. And the company has produced a growing range of interactive movies, including Black Mirror Bandersnatch and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend, which employ simple video game mechanics and mild interactivity to create an accessible experience. So yeah, I thought this was an interesting story to put in. We've talked at length before, Rich, haven't we, about, you know, games as a service and these kind of cloud gaming subscription platforms being the thing of the future, and companies taking monopolistic control of the industry. I mean, you would say Netflix are really well placed for this. I kind of think that, you know, since The Witcher came out, and we suddenly saw an explosion of active players on Steam on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And I think that had some ripples across the industry and made them think, hang on a sec, you know. And now we see more and more about figures, you know, the kind of audience for games has grown rapidly during the pandemic and just in recent years generally, whereby a large swathe of the population are actually gamers, really. So it makes absolute sense to, you know, put their hands together in this respect. And I can just see it, mate, you know, like a Netflix where, you know, we click on what we want to watch. You can just imagine them having, you know, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt just parked off from where you can actually watch Henry Cavill to decide whether you want to watch it or play it, you know. So it makes a lot of sense. Hopefully they do a better job than Stadia did. And yeah, we have seen a lot, haven't we, in the past, where these corporate giants try to barge their way into the games industry and seem to stumble pretty hard because it's just not as easy as they, you know, as they want it to be. But what are your thoughts on it all, mate?
Absolutely, you're right on that. I mean, we're only going to look at Apple's like foray into the games industry that's sort of not even took off the ground really. But I think the biggest complication I can see with this is why will people? So Netflix don't really make any games. They don't have any developers, so they would have to be a middleman. You know, much like I guess you could say Steam is, and that kind of thing. But why would people license their software to them? I don't know what would be given the fact there's already lots of other options, why would they think that's a great idea? Unless Netflix come with just a brilliant package. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get it to the people. Because it's like, okay, the Netflix of gaming is fine, but you won't be able to play games on your TV. That won't be a thing unless, as you sort of alluded to, that it might be like a Stadia, like a cloud gaming type scenario. And then obviously that is potentially possible, but I don't know. I'm not sure about this one.
I think that's it. I think they'd have to build the infrastructure first, which you would say they've perhaps got a head start on. Whether the rest of the world is ready for that, as we've seen issues with Stadia, it's just not, the average person can't necessarily support what's required to have a good cloud gaming experience. But, this might be a few years away. And I think, to your point on how are they going to entice these studios developers over, it's going to be getting the checkbook out, isn't it? And just paying them off big time. I suppose because of the market position Netflix has, the hold, it might be a good storefront if you are, especially a smaller developer, to get your games in the window on, because, you've got a massive audience. And if you are going to create a lot of, I think, their bread and butter, if you like, would be to look at creating, these crossover titles of series that they put out of popular IP franchises, and create, games alongside those. And I suppose you could see, like, they do Netflix originals, don't they? So you could start to see their own development in-house firm. But again, I think that's got to be a long way away, hasn't it? You would presume.
Yeah, I think this is doable, and there is, I can see like Netflix putting a good case together for why it would be a good scenario to do. I just think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's 10, 15 years away, isn't it? There's so much infrastructure needed, and you've got to create relationships with all of the studios for them to then go, oh, okay, yeah, let's license our software on your platform. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is possibly a way off, but there we go.
Definitely. I think we talk about console wars, don't we? We're in the midst of one with Xbox X, Xbox Series X and PS5. This is clearly the next big console war on the horizon, isn't it? Who's going to get cloud gaming right and totally capture that market? And to be honest, I do think Netflix are probably in a good position to do that if they roll it out right. But mate, shall we round things off with a quick fire, everything else?
Absolutely, I'll go first. Tomb Raider dev will reveal a new game at E3 2021 next week.
Exciting, yeah. A big fan of the series.
Absolutely.
Sony reveals 7 new PSVR games, including Sniper Elite VR.
Cool. And then we alluded to this earlier. Gran Turismo 7 will no longer be a PS5 exclusive with a recent decision, according to a report, which means a PS5 version is also in the works. PS4 version is also in the works.
Well done. Team Asobi is growing and confirms it's working on a new game, which is lovely to see. Of course, creators of Astro's Playroom, which we loved.
Absolutely. And Nintendo plans to open a museum in Japan by March 2024. And that's got to be on the list of things to see before we die.
Definitely. Talk about diversification, eh? All this Switch money is going towards monuments to Nintendo, isn't it, seemingly?
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Well, BArcadians, I'm sure we're over our allotted time, as we always hit it and smash it. But thank you for joining us this week. As ever, make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't hit it now for us. Tune in next week. Every Friday at 5 p.m. UK time is when we put our videos out. But just to save you the trouble, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and you'll never miss a thing. But I think that's another one for the archives, Rich.
Stamped and completed.